Hi there, I'm Lisa Taylor and this is Ideas on Truth, and thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, please put a hashtag and where you're watching from in the comments. I'd love to know where our viewers are around the world, and the last time we did this, we got people from all over the world. It's so much fun to see that. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for joining me. I'm getting a little heady tonight, I have to warn you. I've been reading up a little bit on a recent Scientific American release of an article, and the topic of the article is Physics is Pointing Inexorably to Mind, is the name of the article in Scientific American, and it's by this guy, Bernardo Kastrup. And I've been studying metaphysics, as you know, my whole life. I have grown up studying Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, this book by Mary Baker Eddy. She was the founder of the book is kind of the foundation of the religion Christian Science. And though I have studied it all my life, I'm not a religionist. The science behind Christian Science, which is what the name of the religion is, the science behind it is so incredibly advanced for where she was. She wrote the book in 1866, and if you look at the book, the physics, the metaphysics, the scientific understanding of what she was saying was so far advanced that physicists now are just getting to the same points, that there is no matter. So the point in the Scientific American article, one of the lines is what I put in the comment there at the beginning, says that the universe is a mental construct displayed on the screen of perception. That basically what they're saying is, in this sort of information reality, is that when you break matter down to its smallest parts, originally they thought they'd get down to the atom and it would be these little chunks that all fit together that created matter. And then they started breaking down the atom, and that got down to basically conceptual things, sort of fields and energy and nothing that was sort of concrete and definable. And it all has broken down to finally ideas. So this article is kind of outing this whole concept in a very specific way and talks about, let me get down to this final thing. The mental universe exists in mind, but not in your personal mind alone. Instead, it is a transpersonal field of mentation that presents itself to us as physicality, with its concreteness, solidity, and definiteness, once our personal mental processes interact with it through observation. So what that's saying is, the stuff we call matter, concrete, definite, defined stuff, doesn't exist until we observe the mental field. Right? It's cool. I love this stuff. So, in the metaphysics of what Mrs. Eddy was talking about back in 1866, she was way ahead of her time. She makes many statements that there is no matter. Her scientific statement of being starts with, there is no life, truth, intelligence, nor substance in matter. All is infinite mind. That's the beginning of the scientific statement of being that she outlines. And that's the statement that Einstein referenced when he said that was beyond what he was talking about with the theory of relativity and E equals mc squared, that Mrs. Eddy had it right, and he started sort of studying this to find out what she had something here, that she knew something beyond what he had conceived of. She says mortal mind produces its own phenomena. So basically she equates mortal mind, the egoic consciousness, the false ego, the egoic consciousness, mortal mind, with matter. That what we think when we have a personal mind, there was another video I did about personality and personal sense. She talks about personal sense a lot, and about sort of the personal sense of things being the form of being expressed in the form of matter. So I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you, but I get so fired up about this stuff. So just bear with me, hang with me, and we will get through this, because I have a lot of things to talk about it. She also talks about a material body only expresses a material and mortal mind. So that's how we get to healing. Now all of this is just as my little feeble understanding of this stuff. I mean, this is way beyond my comprehension of things, but since I've grown up studying it and grown up grasping little bits and pieces of it and experiencing some amazing things as a result, I know it's true. It doesn't mean I understand it all. So I'm trying to put it out there, and I am by no means a teacher of this. I am a student, a humble student of all of this stuff, and it's just very exciting to me. So I love to share it, but please don't take what I say as teaching. Go do your own research, go look it up, go find the Scientific American article by Bernardo Kastrup. Physics is pointing inexorably to mind. That's that article. And the book Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, I highly recommend it as a scientific book that talks about metaphysics and definitely delves into these ideas in a much, much more detailed way than I could possibly scratch the surface of here. So when it comes to healing, it is absolutely critical that we state what is as opposed to stating what we do not want to be true. So she gives an example. There's this book called Christian Healer where they've pulled together all these letters that Mrs. Eddy wrote to people when they were trying to have healings about things. And she talks to this one person. She said, when you're having a struggle in healing a case and somebody is very low, like the patient is very low, kind of mentally feeling defeated or whatever, she said, don't go in and tell them there is no death. Go in and talk about the infinitude of life. So don't go in and say what you don't want to be true, because then it fixes in their mind and the fear of that becomes the thing that runs the show, and then they're going to die, basically, because their fear, what mortal mind is wrapped up in, fear-based mentality, is what's going to be apparent in the realm of what we're seeing here. So it is crucial that we state what we want. You've heard it in the transformational realm where people talk about, what you focus on expands, kind of the law of attraction, that whole arena of thought is exactly that. What we focus on expands. What we hold in our thought becomes our experience. It's exactly what the Scientific American article is talking about. Where we place our personal, they talk about personal thought. What did they say? That your personal mental process, when it talks about your individual thought is focused on the mental field of reality, that becomes your experience. Look at Joe Dispenza's work. Joe Dispenza, exactly the same thing. He had a complete healing of being, I don't know if he was a quadriplegic, but completely paralyzed. He rebuilt his whole back through absolutely mental processes alone. And now he travels the world and does, sold out shows and talks about the effect of your mental state on your physical being, because your physical body is the expression of your thought, not the other way around. So it is absolutely critical that we watch our thinking, that we say and state what we want to be true in our experience. I went to see the movie that's out now called Breakthrough. It is very kind of Christian based, so if you're not into sort of a religious movie, it's not heavy-handed. I know some kind of Christian movies tend to be a bit heavy-handed. This one's not so heavy-handed. And there are lots of metaphysical ideas in it, so I liked it for that reason. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you from that, the mom, and I'm not being a spoiler here because the preview of the movie kind of tells you the whole story anyway. The mom in this, based on a true story movie, is very, very clear when she's in the hospital about how she wants the doctors to talk in the room where her son is, how she wants everyone who's come to visit to talk about her son while they're there and in earshot of him. She's very, very specific. She says, Nobody is to talk negatively around my son. Nobody is to bring that mental atmosphere into this arena, because it matters what you think. It matters where your consciousness is. And if you don't think that this boy has what it takes to be healed, then I don't want you here and I don't want you speaking, basically. I mean, she doesn't say it in those words. She's much nicer than I am. So that's a real story of a true example of a kid who came back from death and came back from what was to be certain brain damage, if at all functioning, and he was perfectly fine. And the prayers of many, 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 many people and the thought of many, many people around the world, because it was a big news story, supported his healing. And it is absolutely true that what we hold in thought is essential to healing. It is essential to our changing our experience. What you think about expands. What you focus on expands. Say what you want to be true. Let me give you a little example of, this is a little bit tangential, but you'll get my point. I've been doing a lot of work recently about this very close friend of ours who is having a kind of a tough time. And we are in prayer circle and embracing this person in our thought and striving ever so much to know what's true about this individual, even more than they could possibly know about themselves in the moment, to infuse their experience with this support, just like in that movie. And in the process of doing that, there have been all of these signs over and over and over again. I shared one in the video before about not knowing where this person was and getting a very clear direction, go left, and finding the person. There was another experience where I just had this thought, I really need to talk to someone in an authority about this certain circumstance and try to recover some belongings and that kind of thing. And I happened to be out running again early in the morning, very dark out, and was walking instead of running, which is unusual for me, and walked in a direction I don't usually go, and saw a police car turn away from me and drive away from me. And I thought, I wonder if I should catch up to them and try to ask them this question. And then I see the car stop. They're on the other side of an intersection. It stops, and I think, maybe I should catch up and see if I can go ask them. It backs up, and I think, okay, then I start jogging till I catch up. And I go, maybe I really should catch up to them. And I wave them down. I say, hey, can I ask you a question? And out of the passenger seat and comes around the car is this friend of ours who I haven't seen in a long time, who has shown up at every turn as an angel, as angel personification. And it was just a sign to me, when I need to know that I am being governed by God, that everyone in my thought is being governed by God, that there is nothing, there are no mistakes, everything is in balance, everything is aligned. When I need just a little encouragement that yes, in fact, that is true, and it's not just me kind of going over it in my head, it is true. These little experiences happen. Went to a meeting last night. I went to my first Al-Anon meeting last night. Had never been to one before, and somebody had recommended it because I was trying to control things. And they said, you might want to go to an Al-Anon meeting. And I went to one, and no surprises. It was wonderful. Went into the meeting, had never been to one before, happened to just choose one supposedly randomly from this whole list of meetings. Went to one, walk in with my husband, and we're sitting there, we're newbies, it's a room full of people. We look up at the table, there are a couple of people about to start the meeting. And my husband leans over to me, goes, look who's up at the table up there. And I look over, it is one of my husband's best friends that he's known for 40 years. Hasn't seen him in, 4 or 5 years. The guy lives in Sweden, we're in the United States. He was only in the country for a couple of weeks, is leaving in a couple of days, doesn't usually run the meetings, was asked by somebody to sub for this particular meeting, and he thought, okay, I'll do it, and is leaving for Sweden in 2 days. The odds, I almost wish the odds of that particular circumstance were sort of for the lottery and we'd be multi-gazillionaires now, because the odds of that happening and our being at that meeting as our first, it was the odds are astronomical. it was a sign. For me, it was a sign that, you know what? This is not an accident. This stuff happens to show us that everything is aligned. There is no mistake about that. And if you ever doubt it, ask for a sign. Ask to be shown that everything is aligned and that you are being guided in your right path, that everyone is being guided in their right paths, that it is all working together. Somebody just shared a little analogy with me about, the puzzle, like all the puzzle pieces are working together, fitting together. The fact that the puzzle pieces already exist and they're already the perfect shape for them and they all fit together, the picture is already complete and all the pieces do fit together, and when we put it all together we see the picture, but the picture already exists. The pieces already are their perfect pieces and they're already in their perfect place and they all fit together perfectly. So I don't know, I just like that analogy. I know it's kind of simple, but I liked it. Anyway, back to the physics of this. When we are working in the metaphysical realm and we are applying the divine laws of mind with a capital M, I have found, just for me, and I can only speak for me, I have found that it is absolutely critical that I am clear in my statements, that I make statements true. So if I use the I statement, which we talked about before, make sure you can plug God or source or creator in for I and make it a true statement. If you can't, then it's the false sense of I. It's the little I. It's the false sense of ego. It's the false sense of who you are. It's personal sense as opposed to divine sense. And we want to be declaring what's true in reality and in the divine, so that we hold our thought to the perfect model. There's another thing in Science and Health where Mrs. Eddy talks about hold perfect models in thought and strive to emulate those perfect models, or we'll never carve them out in grand and noble lives. As a man thinketh, so is he. It's all through literature. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Shakespeare. It's all through literature. It's all through all the faith traditions. The same ideas, the same truth. It doesn't matter what religion, what philosophy, doesn't matter. If you drill down to the truth in any one of these, you're going to find the same truth. You're going to find the same facts, that love is all, that mind is infinite, that good always wins, because the opposite is the illusion of sense. It's the illusion of what happens when we are egoic in our thinking. False ego. I know some people use ego, capital E, as a synonym for God. So I have to be very clear that I'm saying the false sense of ego. So when you are in fear-based thinking, when you are in egoic, false-based thinking, all of the things that stem from that thinking are, fear and darkness and division and separation and anxiety and all of the things that stem from that would make us feel that all the good stuff isn't true, or is it somehow on shaky ground, when in reality that's the truth and the other stuff is the illusory sense of reality that it doesn't have any power when we wake up to the truth. That's the big when. When we wake up to the truth, it has no power. As long as we believe it's true and we're operating out of fear and out of that false sense of ego, that is our reality, and it is very real to us. It is very real to that mortal mind, to that false sense of reality, that false sense of mind, that personal sense of reality. So making the distinction between love-based thinking and fear-based thinking, divine mind and personal sense of sort of personal mind, separate from divine mind. If you have a personal sense of things, that sense of personality that we talked about before, it's the assumption in there is that you are separate from divine mind, that you have your own mind that's separate and can operate on its own. That's a false sense of reality. Can't, but if you believe that and you're operating in that realm, then your experience is going to stem from that belief. And all manner of you know what breaks loose, and that is your experience. So if you don't want that experience, wake up from that dream and understand and lean your thought towards, just lean more into the realm of love is all powerful. Mind is infinite, capital M, God. That is what's real, not the false dream. It's like when you're dreaming at night and you wake up, you think in the dream that, the dragon is chasing you, you're falling off the cliff, you're dying, whatever is going on in your dream. When you wake up, oh, it was just a dream. It doesn't have any power. It can't actually do anything to you. You're not actually being chased by the dragon or being eaten by the big lion or whatever it is that's going on in your dream. You're not falling off the cliff. And sometimes, I think a lot of times when you fall off a cliff in your dream, you shock yourself awake and then, oh yeah, I'm not falling. Though there was one time I did die in my dream. I know they say that if you die in your dream, you're actually dying. I've died a couple of times in my dream. So I am living proof that that is not true. And I love the lucid dreams where you're dreaming in the dream. I had a lucid dream where I knew I was dreaming in the dream. It was like 3 layers deep of lucid dreaming. It was truly bizarre. And I saw myself in the dream dreaming, and I looked at myself in the dream, and the second layer down dreaming looked at me, woke up in the dream, and I'm dreaming, looking at the person dreaming in the dream. So, and then I'm observing that follow. It was bizarre. It was really bizarre. Anyway, I guess that's all. I'm excited about this. Be sure to look up the Scientific American article. It's called Physics is Pointing Inexorably to Mind. It's a long article and it's pretty heady, I have to say, but it's very cool and interesting, and I highly recommend it. I also always highly recommend the book that I've always studied because I just have gotten so much out of it, and it's so deep. I always learn more. I read it every day and I learn stuff from it. It's kind of like the people who study Course in Miracles. And you can read it over and over and over and over and over again, and you get something new from it, even though you've read the same passage 50 million times. So I highly recommend both scientific books, scientific practices, approaches. Divine law is cool. Go out there and apply it, because it doesn't mean anything unless we can apply it. So I'm excited. I'm here. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. Put your comments below and be sure to share this out if you know of anyone who's interested in metaphysics or wants this information or is interested maybe in this article. I'll put the title of the article in the comments because I don't think I put that in my description, as to make sure that you have that. And the quote that I put in the description of this is actually from that article as well. So thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know what you think. Always want to hear your experiences, and at some point we will have people on again and start talking again, and I have many people watching, and I'm sorry, I have to always apologize. I can't see the comments because I do it on my phone, so they always get hidden. So you've probably been commenting away, and I'm so sorry that I'm not responding live to your comments. I do apologize, but I'll go back and I respond to you afterwards. So thanks for watching, and share this out and do #replay and let me know where you're from. All right, love you guys.